Good evening, everybody. Here we are again. It's Tuesday evening. You can set your clocks by us. 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Lincoln Property and Mortgage Show with myself, Michael Honaby, and as always, Jenny Holt. Again, got a great episode for you tonight. So, Jenny, do you want to tell us what you're up to start off with?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you all about how you can use your home to renovate your home and what that sort of process looks like and what you can and can't do with it.
Fantastic. And I'm going to be talking about getting social with your marketplace, whether you're a home seller or a home buyer. Let's have a look at what agents can do to use social media to influence the decision on which agent to sell with, and also how you can use socials to help find a property as well. So before we get started, let's roll those VT and then we'll jump into this week's show. Look at that, Jenny. We've got people tuned in already. Look, viewers already in there. So welcome on board, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And that just reminds me, I'm just going to send my little notifications over. So I'll tell you what, Jenny, let's start over with your subject this evening, because I think there'll be a lot of people watching that this will be a really helpful topic for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So mine is all about renovating your home and how you can use your current home to be able to do that. And the reason I did this for a couple of reasons. One, I've just gone through that myself. So anyone that has me on Facebook will see that I've just created my own home gym and office to be, but I've got to buy the office stuff yet. So it's just the gym that's sorted. And it just got me thinking. I speak to lots and lots of my clients that have that discussion of, do they move home or do they add that extra bedroom or, add that, make the kitchen bigger? It's usually the downstairs that people want bigger at the moment. So I thought I'm going to talk to you guys about how that looks at the moment. So I don't know if anyone's aware, but you'll move about 8 times in your life, which I didn't know until I thought, I see how many times we move. But what I did know is that the amount of times that people are moving recently has dramatically reduced. So prior to sort of 2008, you could kind of expect to move about 3.5 times, well, it's 3.6 times after you've purchased your first home. That rolled on sort of into sort of the last sort of 5 or 6 years has reduced massively down to about 1.8 times. So that's a massive reduction in how many times people are moving. And here in the East Midlands, the average time that you'll spend in your home is around 19 years, which again blew my mind a little bit because maybe I've just moved a lot. I don't know. But on average, you'll stay in your current home for about 19 years. And there's lots of different reasons for that, why people aren't moving. Sometimes it's purely down to the house prices. It works out cheaper to renovate their home, add that extra bedroom, make the property itself bigger than actually buying, because the amount of times I've said to clients, you're really going to have to go up the level in terms of purchase price to achieve what you're looking to do, and it may be easier to stay where you are. Postcode lottery, we've all hit it, so we've all seen it. I'm going through it myself with some doctors. If you've got a good school, if you're with a good doctors, you really don't want to keep up that postcode, so it may be purely down to logistics that you stay where you are. And then also you've got sort of the general upheaval of everything, moving the kids maybe out of school, changing your workplace, all of that routine. Maybe you just love your neighbours. So you decide, I'm going to stay put rather than renovate. So they're kind of reasons why people will do it. Now, how we do it. So in essence, you can use the equity you've built up in your home. And remember, the equity is the difference between what the property is worth and what your mortgage is currently at. So that's difference there is the equity. You can draw that equity out and then you can use that for numerous reasons. One of the big reasons people use it for is to fund those home improvements, those renovations. And you can do that in 3 main ways. So the first way is a remortgage, whereby you will simply be with your current lender and you'll move completely over to a new lender. And in that process, you will repay your old mortgage and you will borrow extra funds to fund the renovations. The second way is called a further advance, extra borrowing. It is all exactly the same sort of thing. This is whereby you'll stay with your current lender and you'll almost have a top-up mortgage, if you like. So you'll have your first original mortgage, probably won't change that. And then you go back and you ask to borrow extra funds, and that will be on the new rates and the new deals that they've got at that time. And then the final one, which I'm seeing a lot of at the moment, is second charges. Okay, so a second charge is you keep your current mortgage exactly where it is, and then you'll go to another lender, a second charge lender, who will lend you the extra money. Let's be fair, those rates are never going to be as attractive as your standard mortgage, but what they can be is a little bit more flexible. So if you've maybe had some adverse credit, maybe you've had a change of circumstances in terms of maybe you've got a little bit more outstanding on your credit file, or maybe you've changed jobs, you've recently gone self-employed and your current lender won't do the deal, we can get the money out using the second charge for you. So that's the three main ways that you can use that money to sort of release the money from your home to sort of do those renovations. A couple of things to remember when you are looking at this: taking any money from your home is still a full mortgage application. So you still need to meet lenders' requirements in terms of income, expenditure, credit file. They need to be happy with lending on the property. Full mortgage application, but we don't have to do all of the legal side of things. So we tend to speed it up a lot quicker from when you put sort of this type of application through. If you're doing a second charge or maybe a further advance, you're talking weeks rather than months to get the money released. The second thing to remember is they will value your home as it sits today. So I have lots of conversations with clients that obviously want to use the increased valuation because they're going to get the lower rates and it makes the lenders a little bit more comfortable, or so they seem, but they just won't do that. So whatever your property is valued at today, that is what they will, that's the value they'll use. So they'll only go up to those loan to value brackets. And just on that as well, every lender will have a different criteria about what they will and won't lend. So for example, if you go to a high street lender, lots of them will allow you to go right up to sort of what we call 95% of your loan to value. So just leaving 5% of the equity in the property if you're doing something like home improvements, because they know that you're going to increase that value, so it will even out in the future. But they will all have their individual brackets that they sit within. So it's really important that you have this conversation with your mortgage broker up front, or if you go direct to the lender and say, this is what I'm planning to do. What is the maximum that I can take out of my property at this time? And then the second thing to remember is if you are doing a massive, the third thing to remember, if you're doing a huge renovation, they may request planning permission, costings, quotes, all of those sorts of things around that. The lender may request you send that in so that they can make sure that it all tallies up. What they don't want you to do is have half a house, because that's their asset. That's, your liability, their asset, and you haven't got the funds to meet that. So any major works, they may ask for that information up front to make sure it's where it should be. And the final thing to think about is knock down and rebuild is something completely different. I have lots of people that say to me, I've got this property, it might be a bungalow, I'm going to make it into a 4-bedroom house. Most lenders are going to class that's what we call a knock down and rebuild, and that's a completely different kettle of fish. Okay, so just bear that in mind. If that is something that you're looking at, it wouldn't be done in this sort of process for you. So, as I say, look, people are moving less and they are renovating more, which will always squeeze the market because there just isn't as much sort of movement within the market if people are staying put, which is why sometimes we see that squeezes the property value up for you. But what you can do is earn lots of nice equity at a reasonable cost if you decide to go down this route. Just so you know as well, anyone watching, you can borrow for other reasons. It doesn't just have to be home improvements. So you can borrow for debt consolidation. You could borrow for buying a holiday home, a buy-to-let potentially. Any real legal purpose, you can borrow against your home, but each lender will have specific criteria. They don't like paying a tax bill. There's a couple of lenders out there that will allow you to use your property to pay a tax bill, and it's that tax season that we've just gone past, but most won't, so you have to choose your lender wisely. But in essence, you can use your equity to do a lot with your home, and take it to that next level without actually having to back a box, which is really good news, especially what we're seeing in the market at the moment. So yes, that's me done there, Mike.
Well, you covered covered a lot there. Really, really helpful. And I think, like you say, that piggybacks off a lot of the things that you've been saying over the last few weeks about rates and are people moving, are people staying, what's actually happening in the marketplace. So I think we're there's sort of two camps. Well, there's three camps really. There's people who are staying where they are, not doing anything, which is fine.
Hmm.
There's people who are staying where they are and, like you say, doing renovations, home improvements. And we saw a lot of that when we came out of COVID as well, that people have
Yep.
decided actually they'd spend a lot of time in the home and either worn it out a little bit or decided actually now's the time to renovate the bathroom, the kitchen, do a little more work on it, recarpet it, redecorate it, whatever, put an extension on the back of it. So I think we all saw home lending change significantly, that people either thought actually they do want more space or a different area or to move out the cities. We saw that.
Yep.
But so there was a lot of people renovating and modernizing their own homes. And obviously there's the people who are now looking at moving. So that brings me nicely into my subject really. But if you've got any questions on anything that Jenny has said this evening, again, just bottom right hand corner, you've got a post a comment box. Please feel free to put a comment in there. Just add your name to it as well, so we know who it is who's sending it in.
Hmm.
But again, if you're watching this back on your socials and you've got a question that you want to add in, again, please make sure that you send that over to us and make sure that you follow us on our socials as well. So we're getting a few likes and loves as well this evening. So thank you, everybody. So again, if you are watching this, just take a quick second, pop over to your like button and press that for us as well. That really just helps with all of our engagement as well. Right. Okay. So we talked about three camps: people who are staying where they are, not doing anything; people who are
Hmm.
staying where they're doing lots of work, and we said about people who are moving. So let me just give you some data and some stats on what's happened in the UK property market according to Rightmove in the month of January. Some stats came out interestingly yesterday, which I thought I would let you know of. So the number of people requesting a home valuation on their property is up by 23% on the same period of 2023. So that's nearly a quarter, and nearly 25% increase that we've seen in 1 month alone. So that's huge. Now, again, if you remember a few weeks ago, at the beginning of the year, I mentioned that there were 10,000 properties launched on Rightmove in that period between Christmas and New Year. And that's got people thinking, do we want to move? Do we want to sell this year? So huge increase within a 4-week period of people thinking, actually, yeah, we are going to contemplate moving. Let's start the process by getting a home valuation first. Okay. Now, off the back of that, the number of properties coming on the market in the same period is up 13% year on year. So what we're seeing is half of those people that are getting home valuations are probably now starting to put their properties on the market. So up 13% on last year, same period of last year. And from that, we've seen Rightmove has seen an increase of 7% on buyer demands. So these are people registering, looking to move or to buy in the same period from January 2024 to 2023. So that gives us a really good indicator again that this year has got out the blocks much, much faster than we did last year, and probably faster than the year before that. A lot of the stats that we've talked about again over the last few episodes has been about how the market of 2024 is mirroring what was happening in 2018 and 2019. So a really positive start there. So again, if you've got any questions on that, come back to me and let me know. So that's going to lead me on to getting social. Now, I want to talk quite briefly this evening, to be fair, about agents using their social media platform to source properties, to find properties, to help people to move, and also to market homes. And if you always, if you're sitting around, having dinner with somebody or out in the pub, and you said, how do you find a property? They'd all go, we'll go on the property portals. And we all know Rightmove, Zoopla, etc., etc. But the main one that we all talk about is Rightmove. You can set up your property alerts. I don't hear many people saying, oh, I've registered all my details with all the estate agents. We don't do that anymore. We used to donkeys years ago, but because of how technology and portals now work, people don't go around the agents on a Saturday and a Sunday registering the details anymore. You can do that. You can do that through the portals, and you can also do it directly with the websites. But the majority of property inquiries come through the portals, even rather than through direct via the agent's websites. However, it's really, really important that an estate agent has a social media presence. Now, I'm going to aim this to start off with as a home seller. When you are looking to have a home valuation on your property, you're going to do a bit of research, and there's going to be several ways you're going to do this. You're going to talk to your friends and family, work colleagues. Have you used have you used an agent? Have you moved? What was your experience like? We've talked about sort of tribal influence and trust, that if you know somebody who's had an experience, you're likely to talk to that person and get to sort of first-hand review and a testimonial on their experience. That's a big factor. You're going to go on to Rightmove and start looking at maybe the properties that they're advertising and marketing. And one thing I always say on here is look at the quality of the photos, the write-ups, the descriptions. Because if you're thinking of moving and you're going to consider using that agent, that's how your property is going to be marketed. Big bugbear of mine is when you start seeing properties of this well-presented 3-bedroom, semi-detached house with accommodation briefly comprising of dining room, gas central heating and double glazing. That's not selling. That's just describing the property. So, really dive down, because there are some great agents out there that are really spending some time really marketing and promoting properties in a much, much better way, particularly those agents that are doing storytelling, about the reasons why the homeowner bought it, what the work they've done on it, what they're going to miss about it, all those sorts of things you can put across in descriptions, particularly in the video format. So, really do a bit of homework with the agent on how they're going to market their properties. Now, the other thing to do then is to jump onto their social media platforms. Now, we're all on Facebook, we're all on Instagram, TikTok, and all of those platforms. Go in and have a look at the engagement and the content that the agent is also putting out on their social media platforms. And there's a couple of things to take into account. Is my personal view is, if all they're doing is talking about themselves, do you want to be associated with somebody who's just, bragging all the time, who boasts the most? Social media platforms is a great opportunity to educate and give advice on what's actually happening in the marketplace. So if all you're just saying is, we've sold this property, we've exchanged on this property, this is a new listing, we've had a price reduction on this, we do this, we do that, we do the other. That's great, but that's where a website is there for. That's your sort of book of what you do as a company as such. Social media for me is a great tool to educate people and to help people, giving out loads and loads of free advice. One of the reasons why we do this show, Jenny.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, really look into the content that they're putting down, in these social medias. That if it's all the same old stuff and you go and scrolling through and there's no real engagement in there, you've got to be thinking, actually, what influence are they having into the marketplace, and are they there, the sort of go-to agent? Because, to be fair, in Lincoln, there are a lot of estate agents and you've got to choose one of them. So that's the first thing, just to say, start to look through the content that they're putting out there as well. And from that, you'll start to be able to see things like blog articles that are going in, other market influences of what's happening in the marketplace, and particularly around Lincoln. So the reason why I stress that is, a lot of agents, if they're of a larger size or more corporate based, they will often have a national media and marketing company, and they'll be producing content to go out through the company's offices and social media. Now, that information isn't always relevant to the local marketplace in Lincoln. As we all know, Lincoln is almost its own little micro market. And some of the things that are happening, particularly in the southern market at the moment, aren't relevant to Lincoln and Lincolnshire. So, have a look at what that content is. Look at even the imagery that they're using. Are they using local, landmarks, for argument's sake? Because I think that gives you a really good indication of how in tune the agent is with their local community. Some of the best agents that I see up and down the country and in Lincoln are the ones where they've got a local landmark and it's got the word Lincoln across the headline, and it should get in your attention, and it's telling you what's going to be within that content. And so that's the first thing there. If you're looking at selling, do your homework, look on Rightmove, look on the agent's website, but look at the social media as well. The other thing then, from a buyer's point of view, is using the agent's social media platforms to know and learn about, again, what's happening in the marketplace and about the agent. But more and more agents are posting their new listings, their new reductions, or properties that are coming back on the market on social media platforms. And they can be across Facebook, Insta, TikTok, etc. again. But also, when you're looking at that content, are they also bringing the properties to their social media before they go on Rightmove and Zoopla, for argument's sake? So I'll give you an example. I have what's known as a sort of a live launch media marketing. where as soon as I get the go ahead and the contract signed and we've gone out and got the initial details, I'll stand outside the front of it, and I'll do a live post to announce that the property is coming on the market. It's your chance to get in quick, get registered on my heads up campaign, and get into the property sooner than anybody else, because it isn't live yet on the portals. I'm literally stood out the front door. There are some other great agents out there as well that do live posts. It's quite a bold thing to do. You've got to be quite confident to stand in front of the property and just go out live. But plenty of agents, they do now use videography and good content when it comes on the market with, say, the property portals. But some of them do the launch, the soft launches, on their social media first. So it's a great way to get to know about properties, particularly now the marketplace is picking up, to find out about those homes. If that's the case, follow them on their social media. Okay, it's a real big thing. Agents, we're all about numbers, etc., etc. So it is important that if you follow them and like their content and engage with them, you start to get the knowledge of what's happening in the marketplace as well. And it's not just on their own social media platforms that they post it. So, for example, you may have a local community Facebook page. There are also other sites out there. There's one in Lincoln called My Home is for Sale, or My House is for Sale. And agents will post properties on there. Home owners will put posts in there, and it will link through to Rightmove normally. Little bugbear there. Agents who post the details with a link back to Rightmove are missing a trick, because you're just sending it to a third-party portal. So if you're watching this and you're an agent, post the link back to your website property marketing details. It gets your branding back in front of that client. There you go. You can have that little takeaway for free. So, as I say, there are local Facebook groups, there's local social media groups that you can follow as well, if you're then looking to either sell or to buy. But the key thing really to take away from today is look at the content. As I say, if it's just all about them and they're just saying how many houses to sell, etc., etc., is that really helping you make a decision about which agent to market? If you're one of those people who all you want to see is the one agent is selling more properties than anybody else, then great. Then that message is good. But a good agent who's helping in the community, is on top of what's going on, and is giving you the facts and the data and the figures and help. I think that's an agent that's worth engaging with and following before you pick up the phone. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, whether you're a home seller or a buyer. The key thing is look at the content, get engaged, partake in that content as well. And then also, finally, if you're a home seller and you then get the agent to come out to your property, do ask what they do with their social media. When does it go out live? Is it just going out one post? Is it done repeatedly? Getting technical things, you can do things like a re-engagement advert. And that's for the numbers. What's likely to happen if I was to do a video and it went live with you and you post it on your social media? What sort of interaction or what sort of engagement am I likely to expect to see from that? That's quite an important one, because if all you're doing is dropping it in and it's on your own local Facebook page and you're not doing things like boosting that advert or doing sponsored adverts, it's going to get seen once and then it's going to drop into the feed. An agent like myself, we do an audience re-engagement target campaign. So once somebody's seen some of our content for more than 20%, we'll then put in more content back out to that client to engage with them, to help them in their move. And we'll often see videos having 16, 18,000 views in a short period of time. Now, that's great as from a statistical point of view, but ultimately you only need one person to buy it. But what that is saying is there are 18,000 people who have looked at your content, and you've got your branding and your marketing in front of that client. If you're doing that regularly and you're then educating people and they start following you, that's when it gets exciting. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's why it's really important that agents really use social media well on a regular and a consistent basis.
Mike, I 100% agree. I have lots of mortgage brokers that I follow, lots of estate agents that I follow just naturally. And some of them, it is just literally, look how fantastic I am. Look what I have achieved. And I'm not knocking them for it. But what I do see is there's kind of a pattern. And I think, hang on a minute, I might have seen that post about 6 weeks ago. And yet we're putting that back out there. And that always gives me a little bit of a chuckle. There's one person in particular, I will not mention their name, that just regurgitates the same post. It's almost like a 6 weeks delay. And when you follow them for a period of time, you start to pick up thinking, hang on a minute, I saw that previously. So I think you're 100% right. It's about being unique. It's about finding the agent that is right for you and the right person that's going to buy your home and interact with you. You know, people, I always say the best time anyone contacts me is a Sunday evening, because it's that downtime where they're looking on social media, kids are bathed in bed, it's that moment of family time where everything's going quiet. I get more people contact me on a Sunday evening, and I'm sure Rightmove is probably the same. So if you've got the right social media, you're going to get noticed. I think it's key. I think people don't walk down the high street looking in the shop windows anymore. I think the only time I ever do that is when I'm on holiday thinking, oh, I might quite like to live here. Let's have a look in the shop windows. Then realise that that's probably a step too far at the moment. So I think you're right. Social media is the key.
Well, social media is your shop window now.
Yes.
Everybody's on their mobile phones. It's the same thing. If you remember, that again, my first job was down on Silver Street. One of my jobs every weekend was to change the window displays. People used to walk past and look at the details in the window. Social media just means it's live, it's active, it's continual. So it's a great way to get your property noticed to people, but also, tell people what you do as well and what services you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like anything, estate agents, mortgage broker, the butchers, they don't just do one thing now. They do several things and offer several services. So it's making sure that you're getting the most for what you can for your money, if you like, and getting that attraction and those views across, because social media is instant. So, if you've got a good estate agent who is active on social media, your posts are going to get out there a lot quicker and your property is going to get seen by a lot more people.
I'll give you two little things on here. I like telling stories, don't I? So the first thing is again, from a consumer's point of view, what I also like about is when agents put a few comments about some of the things that they do as a team as well.
Yeah.
There's two or three agents in particular that really stand out. They're really, really good at this. And there's one particular video that's doing the scenes at the minute, which is a sponsored ad. If you're watching this, you've probably seen the advert. Great agent. Fantastic promotional video that they've done. First class. One of the first agents has done it in that basis and promoted it as well as that's like a TV advert. And it's outstanding. But also, if you're showing a little bit about what the team are up to, you get to know a little bit about their personalities, because estate agents aren't bad people. They get a bad reputation. Some of it is rightly so. But if you can get a bit of a flavour for what the team are like and what they're about and what their ethics are, and are they fun people? Are they people you want to work with? Because if it's just sending out all the dross stuff that's very one-dimensional, if you put your house on the market, it's potentially still another 4 to 5 to 6, 7 month process from start to finish.
Yes.
So, that it is a great way for you to find out a little bit about the personality behind the company. And then the other thing about instant and notice and getting, bringing things to the market quickly and active that way. One of my favorite times was I did a live property post outside in the chucking down rain on Greg Hall Crescent. And I was out the front there, coat on, and it was blowing a gale, and I was talking, and I was trying to make sure that you could still hear me with the mic. And I was in the middle of the post, and a car pulled up, beeping its horn, and he went, Mike. I went, I'm just doing a video. I says, I know, I'm watching it. My wife's watching it on a phone now. Is that the house that was just got on the market just behind you? And I went, yeah. And she says, we were just around the corner viewing a property, and we've been seeing your post. Your live came up. Can we have a look round? So
how epic is that? It does. It really does show it work. For me, it's all about social media at the moment. I think if they're not on social media, definitely missing a trick. And I've always said, and you might shoot me down for this, that anyone can really sell a house. An estate agent really comes into their value once the house has been sold and they're trying to push that through to completion. That's when the value of a fantastic estate agent really holds their own. And I think that's when you need that relationship and that rapport, because sometimes there's tough conversations that need to be had. Yeah. And it's better to have it with someone that you get on with rather than worried about picking up the phone or what have you. So I think you're 100% right there with what you just said. Well, I'll tell you what,
let's use that as a topic for next week then, because that's a great one. Because again, we're starting to see sales coming through, and what will be really interesting is how many agents have retrained their staff on negotiating sales and progressing sales when the market fell through the floor last year? I bet
Yeah.
there's not many agents who've revisited that part of their process and said, you know what, guys, we need to go back to basics on this in regards to how are we now helping those people tie up sales, tie up ongoing purchases, and then seeing the process through, because there will be some difficult conversations in the next few weeks and months getting those sales through. So I'm going to make a note of that. So if anybody's got any questions on that, based on your own past experience about what happens when you move in and you've got your deal done, some questions around, what's the involvement of the estate agent when we take into account solicitors, conveyancers, all those people involved, mortgage arrangers. If you want some help, or if you've got any questions on that, ping them over to myself or Jenny before next week. But I'm going to put that down as a real good talking point for next week. Jenny, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. There we go.
Excellent. So great show. Again, lots of interaction. Thanks again for all the likes and the hearts today. Thank you very much indeed. Just gone over the 30 minutes, so that just shows. I thought I was only going to talk for a few minutes tonight as well, Jenny. Typical estate agent, Anna.
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm like. I make 2 little notes down my notepad, and then I just talk down of it. I talk from the heart. Okay, so thanks everybody. Really appreciate again your involvement. As always, as we always say, please like, share, tag to anybody else that you think might be interested. Really appreciate your support. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and if you've not had a pancake, get off and get yourselves a pancake. And we will look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week on the Lincoln Property and Mortgage Show.